Mxiety. I am on tonight with the incredible Dr. Anthony Bean. He is going to be talking about his new amazing anthology called The Psychology of Final Fantasy. You don't have to say it like that when you buy it, but you can as you check out on Amazon be like, the psychology.
You get extra like cred points if you do that and tweet it at us.
Yeah, yes, in a video, please. Tweet directly at Video Game Doc. Is that right?
At Video Game Doc, yep.
There you go. There you go, fam. Okay, I also do have links. In all seriousness, hold on. There's links. That's how you buy the book. But before they buy the book, I gotta turn off this background music that we have playing. While it's lovely, it's very distracting. Okay.
I was wondering. I was like, wait a second, I could hear something, but now.
Yeah, there you go.
Now I understand.
Now you understand. Okay, so right now, unprepared completely, 5 reasons why somebody should buy your book. Go.
1, it talks a lot about Final Fantasy. 2, you're going to learn a lot about psychology. 3, you're going to learn a lot about yourself. 4, it's heavily based on trauma, which we're all going through some fun trauma right now. And 5, it's just got a cool cover. The person who made it is insanely talented.
Yeah, look at that. Surpassing the limit break.
I wish Cloud would say it that way.
Yeah. No, Cloud would be like, surpassing the limit break, whatever.
But you gotta remember, then he goes.
Yeah, it's a little Napoleon-y, like. We just keep repeating. I know it's not. It's like what normal people say, but now my husband and I say it as a reference to Final Fantasy VII remake, because they have this side quest where you have to go catch cats. And then at one point, he catches like the 4th out of 5 cats and he goes, this sucks.
And it's right. It's the same thing as like catching all the cuckoos in Legend of Zelda.
Yeah.
You're like, gosh, this is a quest, guys? Come on. Better be something good.
Yeah, exactly. But
got a heart container.
Can I have a heart container? Not chickens. Thanks. Oh my gosh. There's an interdimensional chair that only cool people have. Oh, you mean that it pops in and out of view? Is that what you're talking about?
The one that goes like this, like, see, it's like it's not really there, but it's there.
Ooh.
I know.
Ooh. The cool thing now is RGB. I don't know if you know. So that's why my chair is normal.
I do know. I know that is there. And my next computer will obviously have to have a clear glass case and tons of colors.
Yeah.
So you're gonna like see it like sparkle off of me.
Yes. Do the vampire. Do the Edward Cullen. Please don't. Please
I'm
don't.
not going to.
Okay, great.
I am pasty. I burst into flames in the sun.
Oh my gosh. Well, so does he. I guess that's you know what? We don't need to talk about
Edward
Twilight
Cullen
today.
And Batman and all that stuff. Yeah.
Oh, we can talk about Batman. That's a whole separate amazing conversation. That is so cool. Okay. So you sent this copy to me. And he signed it. Look at this. Oh, my heart is so warm. No, he'd sparkle. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so I do want to talk about this book. I do. We're all over the place here. I don't know if you noticed.
It's okay.
You remember being on before, correct?
I do. Yeah.
Okay, so this isn't jarring.
We go in tons of different directions.
There you go. Yeah, but we'll get there eventually. The point is, this book is amazing. I read it. I don't read quickly. Like, I can read fast, but I usually take my time with books. I read it in 3 days because I was really, 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 really into it. Oh my God. And you can tell I read it around my birthday because it has a happy birthday from Chase card in it. What is happening? Anyway.
And Moopalu, no, it says you're amazing.
Aw, does it say you're annoying?
Because I don't think that way of Mxiety on any level.
No. Dr. Bean has helped me so much through just like today with 4 separate questions. That's 4 separate questions today. So yeah. Now you have to get the signed edition bookshelf for the stream room. What? Oh, like a separate bookshelf that has all the signed copies? I need more authors who sign books and send them to me for review. You made me feel so freaking cool. I was like, Yeah, I do this all the time. Of course, obviously. I review books.
You're like, yeah, this is this. I do this like 5 times a day. Go ahead,
Yeah,
let's make this
5
happen.
times. That's how fast I read. Just like, whoop, got it. Anyway, but the chapters in here were incredible. I will be honest, just in general, retro video games are not all always. I'm not always connected to them as much. Like Zelda, I had to catch up on. It's a great example. Final Fantasy is another one. I didn't grow up in this country. I didn't have all the consoles, so I'm playing catch up now at 30. And I found this book to be incredibly, incredibly accessible as somebody who knows very little about Final Fantasy. Just the psychology of it, the breakdown of the characters was incredibly well done. But oh my gosh, we have a raid. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming in. I can't give you too much attention, but I promise I appreciate you. Thank you kindly. Thank you kindly. Here they come. Welcome in, Raiders. But yeah, so here we are. We're interviewing Dr. Anthony Bean. All right, Dr. Bean, why don't we back up? Because some people don't know that you've already been on the show. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. So I am obviously a doctor of clinical psychology. You'll probably hear my kids in the background because they are awesome and loud, as kids should be. And basically, my training is in what we call Jungian or Freudian psychology. So
Okay.
a very what we call depth, that's deep psychology. And I've trained a little bit in CBT, kind of the more nuanced stuff. That's the permeable in our current clinical sphere, I'll call it. And yeah, so that's kind of like my basic training in that. Goals of obviously becoming a full Jungian analyst, but we do dream analysis in the practice. I help run a nonprofit called the Telos Project, where we do tons and tons of testing in therapy for an underserved population, and we managed to find a lot of resources for them and connect them with those resources. And we started that in 16. What was that? A year and a half, 2 years ago when I was first on here, and we only had like 3 or 4 people. Now we're up to 16.
Whoa!
So yeah, it's going pretty intensely fast, and it's awesome to do that and to see what we can do. Like, we take all sorts of different types of insurances to just help people out. Like, we take the ones that no one wants to take, and it's for good reason. They pay crap, but we it gets supplemented.
Whoever handles your billing and admin stuff, like, bless. that's
oh yeah,
amazing.
no, they are amazing.
Yeah.
They deal with it, and they're always like, can we get rid of them? And I'm like, no, we can't. We're one of the few places that serves them. And so basically we're just doing a whole bunch of good stuff there. We also write books. We open up the publishing company, which is where this book came into play. We wanted to do the next one, and we have our other one coming out in September, Geek Therapy Training one. And let's see, we opened up Geek Therapy Training, ley line education, to promote this for mental health experts to be able to utilize, let's say, video games, D&D, anime, fan fiction in therapeutic practice. And so we're doing all sorts of cool stuff.
That's so cool. Okay, what kind of stuff is, like, otherwise are you publishing? Like, is it all educational, psychology related stuff?
Kind of anything geek related. Actually, yeah. So we are purposely niching ourselves, however you want to say it. In that we want to be the publisher that you come to for geek stuff. So we already have 6 more books in the lineup that haven't been announced yet to kind of get in there. So like 2 are on D&D. One's going to be on like people utilizing their own experiences in D&D stuff to create a whole fantasy scape. It's going to be super cool to read that one, like chapters on fantasy world, Tolkien style. We have a teacher who's writing about how he uses video games in the classroom, and a whole bunch of just other projects down the line that people are like, yeah, I want to kind of think about this. I'm like, let's do it. Let's make it happen. I'll help you make it the best book it can possibly be.
That is so freaking cool. I'm really excited. So a lot of stuff has changed since you were here last, but like in the best way possible, which is amazing. That's so exciting.
It's never a dull moment. There's always something going on.
But like, it's great. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Okay, all right. So how did this book come to be in general? Like, what led you down the Final Fantasy path? Because the first the previous book was obviously focused on Zelda. So what led you
Hmm.
down the Final Fantasy path?
So we decided that I wanted to continue on this series, and we're going to do more as we go forward. That I really wanted to jump out of take the knowledge that we did from Zelda, but also the constructive criticisms that we got from it too, such as it was very Jungian focused, and I love
Yes.
Jungian psychology, so I felt like it was perfectly fine. Uh, some people did not, and so that is perfectly acceptable, and we consider that to be constructive criticism.
Mm.
And so we went down this path of we want to do something a little bit different, and so we decided to go into either Final Fantasy or a different one. And I got an uproar from the writers and from other people who have not written before. They're like, yes, do Final Fantasy. I have topics already, ideas. And I said, all right, let's make that happen. And ironically, just to kind of give everyone an idea of the publishing business, it is terribly difficult to even find a publisher that'll take your book.
Yes.
It
I'm in
is
the
like
process, so it's painful. I can tell, confirm.
it's terribly painful.
Yeah.
But it builds up a really good resilience. I would like to say to be able to see that. So like the Final Fantasy book, I sent it out to 140 different publishers. Out of those 140, I heard back from about 20 of them. Out of those
Those
20,
are actually good numbers. Okay.
those are good numbers, and,
Yeah.
and like if people don't think those are good numbers, that's actually really good numbers for cold calling publishing companies.
Yeah. Yeah.
Out of that, we heard back from 20. Out of those 20, there was one who wanted to see more and then ghosted me. And so after like 9 months of doing this, I'm like, I'm done. I'm not going to waste my time on this. My time could be spent better in better areas of just doing this ourselves. And so I was like, screw it, we're going to just create a publishing company. And so we did, and I started the process, and it is one heck of a long and arduous journey. We would say that there's tons and tons of stuff that has to go into play um, for it, and editing and getting the cover ready. Like we paid the someone over in California to create that cover, and she got a copy of the book too, plus obviously getting paid for it. But man, she is super talented and wants to work on other ones. And so yeah, that's kind of the journey of that one. And then since we're starting this, we're like, we might as well just keep on bringing this geek stuff in, because if we're having trouble, let's say Final Fantasy, it's been around for a
Right.
number of
Final
years.
Fantasy is nothing to sneeze at. Like, it's not
Nope,
like you
it's
were
not.
writing about Samurai Jack. Like you.
I mean, but Samurai Jack is awesome. I mean,
No, I mean, yes, absolutely awesome, but he doesn't have the legacy, right? That like, or like Fall Guys, it's awesome, but like Final Fantasy is, I might have
it's a
not.
staple.
It's a household name. Like, I might have not played Final Fantasy as a kid, but even I was aware of those games having no consoles. So.
And so and so we were super surprised that no one wanted it, and we're like, screw it. If we're having that much trouble, then what about everyone else who maybe has like a geek oriented idea or something like that? How much trouble are they having? Then you got to think about like probably a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we're like, well, let's be an avenue for them to help them create the best thing that they can, but also, enjoy the whole process and kind of teach them a little bit.
Gotcha. Wow. You could, Fuzradoc, you could write a book about Samurai Jack. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Because having just rewatched it and watching it now as an advocate versus watching it just like as a doofus before, the themes are very, very strong. He literally fights with himself, and it's amazing. Yeah. Anyway.
Oh, yeah, no. Perseverance, self-doubt, grit.
Yes.
Oh, it's totally all in there with Samurai Jack.
Yeah, 50 years worth of perseverance and grit. Yeah. So, okay, Fuzradoc has our first question from the audience, so we might as well throw it out there. So, Dr. Bean, what do you want people to get out of geek therapy, therapists and clients alike?
I mean, you got to say it in his like husky voice, like it's like, so Dr. Bean, what do you want to get out of geek therapy and stuff like this? He's gonna call me after this and say I'm going to hate you next time I see you just for me doing that. If he doesn't say it in chat here as well, or I could just say like, My Hero Academia. The new season, it's not really like grabbing me in that intensity.
You want to
But
be killed. Like somebody, you're
I
gonna have a
don't
bounty
get
on
me
your
wrong.
head.
I love it. I love it. But it's just like it doesn't have the same oomph as the previous ones. I think it's gonna be considered like a filler season, which is unfortunate.
Well, I
Um,
think every anime has it. It's okay. This is
this is
personal.
personal, pal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. So what we want people, I'll now answer your question now that I've done that. So what we want people to get out of this is to know that when one, being geek is perfectly fine. Two, even people that aren't geeks, we introduce this stuff to them, and which one of the reasons why it's called geek therapy, because it's not just for geeks, it's for everyone. That they tend to, I'm trying to think of, like, I'm just going through like all the clients, like when we subscribe them to anime, to playing D&D, doing all these different things within it, they're like, I never knew this existed and I feel this connection to this, and we're like,
Oh.
that's the whole point of it. And so it opens up a lot of different avenues. And so one is to identify and explore who you are. Two, it's a way of communicating different values, different ideas, and metaphorical ideas to the conversation, the clinical conversation. But also it's a way for the therapist to connect and engage with their clients in a way that's, one, safe, two, able to everyone can watch at the same time, and three, everyone's having these type of experiences.
Has this been? I have to ask because we've been talking about COVID and mental health a lot on the channel, like literally before you came on. So, do you find that this has been easier or harder to do because of COVID?
Actually, I found it to be a little bit easier, except for the D&D groups. They're about the same, because a lot of people, I can be like, hey, I'm watching this anime right now, like, have you seen it?
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, yeah, I have. I'm like, oh, what part did you up to? Where do you get stuff like this? I finally got ahead of one of my anime girls, that she's like devouring anime like seasons a day, like insane amount. And I'm finally beating her in Fairy Tale, and she's like, you just wait till next week, Miss Dr. Bean. And I was like, don't do this to me. This is like, I've waited a whole year to get here. Don't do this to me.
Don't make me. Oh my gosh.
But it's a way for us to kind of connect, and a way for them to feel like they're mattering something,
Yeah.
mattering more than just what they're doing at home. And it's a way to release
Yeah.
stress, because COVID,
Yeah.
stress,
So
terribleness.
yeah, no, there's no part there. All this research, there's all this research out there about like COVID makes people more depressed, and I was like, you need to spend money on that research. I don't know. I don't know. It was pretty. That part was a given. Anxiety, and like maybe it's not diagnosed. Like what's the word I'm looking for? Not diagnosable, but not like there's a term for it. Anyway, maybe it's not like full blown anxiety, but there's nobody who's not anxious over over a pandemic in the background.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And people can write to me in my email. I will justify my position. That's okay. That's RIP to my thing. I will literally lay it out, as long as you don't mind a long email back, me laying out the different seasons and my reason for that. Like, hey, we're good. But yeah, that's kind of one of the things, and even my more hardcore anime people, I would say, are in similar stuff. But those are the hardcore people that watch anime that I've never even heard of.
So, to give us a little bit of a background on Jungian psychology, why do, and this is totally a leading question because I know the answer, but why do it this way? Like, why is geek therapy so important? Why is it important to give people this specific kind of outlet and meet them through anime? Like, that doesn't seem very like uptight psychology like.
Well, let's just say the winds of change are coming.
Mm-hmm.
We have just recently got our Psychology Today profile, after showing the benefits of kind of like training people in geek therapy for professionals, and they're like, "Yep, let's give it to you.
Yeah.
You guys talk about it."
Okay.
So we're gonna start doing a lot more in that area too. But basically, the way, the reason that it kind of comes into play is because we feel connected to these characters, whether they're D&D, whether they're anime, whether they're video game characters, whether it's a fan fiction one where we're writing about that character. The reason that we do this, the reason we play as them, is because we are connected to them and we're projecting a part of ourselves upon them. And that projection is just as important as our real self, as to who we want to be, our ought self or our wannabe self as well, and our bad self, because those are things. I play a warlock right now who's chaotic neutral and just like literally has a coin and flips the coin to decide whether he's going to throw an Eldritch Blast at someone, and I'm like, I'm okay playing this way.
Oh, how does that work? Do you actually throw a coin, or do you throw a die to determine what the coin, like what? That's a lot of
So
layers
I do a D100 in our Roll20 thing,
there.
and
Okay.
so if it comes up odd, it's tails. If it comes up even, it's heads.
Okay.
Or yeah. So
Okay.
that's basically it. And the rule is if it's heads, I don't do anything. If it's tails, I do something. And so that's kind of the big thing to the encounter, and it is so funny to watch this stuff happen, because my character will just antagonize the biggest characters in there and get us into really big fights, but we always manage to get out of it. I was like, see guys, we could do this.
I love it. I love it. We have so many questions coming in, so I have to start asking you guest questions.
Sure,
Okay.
absolutely.
Now, questions for the guest. I know English. I got this.
English, come on.
Duo asks, is this type of therapy done one-on-one or in groups? And if both, what approach seems to be more fulfilling?
So we do them both. So we actually have done D&D in what we call duet play, which is one-on-one. It's kind of like a dyad. And what that can do is you can utilize that to focus in on the dungeon and the actual key aspects of the individual to push them through something that they're kind of struggling with, whether it's anxiety talking to someone, whether it's depression and it turns into that's a wall, and this depression, well, it doesn't really have any spells or anything, but you get close enough to it and it sucks out your energy. It makes you lethargic, and you have to figure out a cognitive way to come around that and to be able to understand the monster and go forward from that. So that's one of the way that we can do a duet. We also have the general 4 to 6 D&D groups that are running that focus a little bit more on like social skills, working as a teamwork, problem solving that doesn't always have to be based in violence. And because one of the biggest things that we kind of think in games and the historical part of games, whether it's board games, video games, is that games themselves have to overcome something by being violent. That's not the case
Right.
at all. And we're starting to see some video games changing that perspective and that morality of what we would talk about in this aspect. But there's also always a way out of any of our D&D groups to be able to talk your way out of the situation and find a way to converse within it if the people are willing to put in that energy.
Love it. Oh my God.
Oh yeah.
I know these answers, and every time I'm like, and then what? And then what? Tally Twitch asks, what is your opinion of the over-sexualization of juvenile characters in anime? Personally, that's why I refuse to watch it.
It's definitely a cultural shock in a lot of different ways, but one of the big things that I would say that we talk to parents about is that you have to think that yes, they may be a little bit juvenile, but on some level they also are displaying a lot of maturity levels. And so one of the things that we want to talk about is what is the cognitive age necessarily when we work with clients in this stuff. Let me be very clear. I don't necessarily condone the idea of pedophilia or anything like that. It's not appropriate on any level.
Right.
One of the things of what I'm saying is that you also have to look sometimes past what the actual visualization is and kind of look at some of those things, because what we may think as is like, oh, this looks like 11-year-old stuff. In the actual anime, they might be 17, 18. Or something like that, or be supposed to be portrayed in that aspect. So in order to go through that, yes, we have to put up what would say kind of like a wall of being able to actually look at it from that perspective. And when someone goes going down that perspective, then we kind of be like, hey, this isn't appropriate. This isn't something we can really talk about. This is something that we need to think about in a different light. And so a lot of our parents sometimes bring that up, like, I don't really feel comfortable with letting them watch it because this isn't the way that we actually see the future, and we want to teach morals and everything like that about respecting other people around us. And we're like, hands down, let's do that. So let's talk about what is the storyline, what is the narrative, what are they overcoming in this aspect. And we change the perspective of it and be like, you have to look through the characters, because most of the time if you watch these things in Japanese with subtitles, that you're not even paying attention to actually what's going on sometimes in the actual anime itself. You're trying to read and try to stay up for the conversations because they talk so fast sometimes. But it's something that we definitely have to work around from a clinical standpoint.
Do you find, because it sounds to me like you might kind of have to take care of the parents more than the child that is experiencing issues and that is looking for, for help, or parents who are bringing their child. Like, it sounds like really the issue is getting the parents to get on your level to understand why this is the case and stuff like that. Is that right?
It's always the issue. Every time is the parents are like, I don't understand why they want to do this, or there are occasions where sometimes the parents will be like, we've searched you out, we've read your stuff, we want to engage you in this specific stuff because we think that you can provide a different narrative than what we're seeing here, which is fantastic to actually get those types of parents. But most of the time is we're convincing the parents, like, hey, engage your kid on this, engage this type of stuff, watch a different set of anime with them. Like I've had parents watch Cowboy Bebop with their I know, right? I'm callback on that one. And with their kids, and so they're like, oh man, this is really cool. I'm like, yep. And guess what? That was put out in the 90s. So like you're not even as close to our current generation. And there's Scridle, which is another not well-known one, which talks about the idea of altars in a sense. So to give an idea, just a brief one, it's basically a whole island was just devastated by this like bombardment of, I'm gonna go radiation style stuff, and everyone on the island developed what they call altars, like a personality altar of themselves, and it comes out in like big ones, small ones. It comes out in lots of different things. And so if we look at what the person's personality is and their alter together, you can actually see a very symbiotic relationship between those things of what their odd self is, what their real self, and what their poor self is, in being able to then rectify the situation that comes up through the narrative journey of the anime itself. And that's just one way to do that.
Yeah. Oh my God. I feel like you've been asked these questions so many times. Like, you're so freaking on top of it. You're like, listen, I know. Like, can you finish at this point? Like, just finish the parent sentences. Like, my kid. Oh, is your kid watching too much anime? Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Pretty much. It's like they're watching those cartoons. Oh, anime? Which one are they watching? Oh, I don't know. I'm like, well, the kid's next to you. Ask.
Right.
Let's have a conversation about that.
Have you ever had parents walk away and be like, this is ridiculous. This is not how you therapy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. And the kids will beg and plead and to come on back because they're like, this is the first person or first group of people that have actually come across and know what I'm talking about. Like, why wouldn't I want to see this person? And it takes some convincing for the parents, and we usually do some follow-up too. But like, hey, we noticed you left early. Frazzled, sometimes the words that we use, and we wanted to just kind of do a check-in, and then we kind of like decompress with the parents, and usually they come on board at some point.
Gotcha. I mean, okay. So, and if you lose them, it just sucks for the kid. If you lose them, it sucks for the kid more than it sucks for you. I feel like.
Yeah, it does, because I can tell you there has not been more fun than doing geek therapy with these kids and adults in some cases. Yeah, it's. I mean, I pretty much get paid by insurance companies to talk about anime and what about their characters and a whole bunch of other slew of fun facts to understand ourselves, and I get to then watch it later on and be like, I am
this is research
stuff. This is research for you guys. It's fine. It's good. It's all good.
This is good stuff. But it's interesting because like I've been a nerd since as long as I can remember. My first realization of it being when I was in middle school and the kids started calling me Pokemon because I had a backpack that had Ash hugging Pikachu. And so but it was so mean. It wasn't like, oh, like you're like, if I think now if somebody called me a Pokemon, I'd be like, oh yeah, probably like, I don't know, Togepi, right? That's what you associate with me.
I mean, I feel like you would just pull out a Master Ball and be like, you're right, and I'm gonna catch a human and throw it at them.
It's like something would be happening that would be like really exciting. But as a kid, I was like, that's so mean. I'm not a Pokemon, and I couldn't afford a different backpack. Like, parents aren't gonna like go and buy you a new backpack after you spent like years, what feels like years, more like hours, pleading with them to buy you this really cool backpack that has Pokemon on it. But yeah, so that was a terrible year of my life. But like I love Pokemon now. But Anyway, where was that story going? The point of it was that as much as I'm a geek and have been a geek forever, I am just coming to terms with the fact that maybe I need to be seeking therapy that aligns more with my geekery. And I think I've
Hmm.
come to terms with the fact that this is like a bigger part of my personality than I gave it credit for, because like a lot of things, at least in my life, I've just kind of suppressed it to try to be as close to the norm as possible. So constantly pushing away from what I know I like, whether that's my bisexuality or the
Hmm.
fact that like I really really love Cowboy Bebop. Like
Because
I
it's
get
so
really
good.
into it's so good. Did I
Yeah.
wait, did I tell you after PAX one year I last year, not this year, last year at PAX I got the Cowboy Bebop board game.
I'm sorry. What?
There's a Cowboy Bebop board game. If executive producer is watching, I'll ask him to bring it up. It
I need
is
to know about this.
it
Holy
is
cow.
so cool. So the point of the game, and this is totally a tangent, but here we are. The point of the game is you have rations for food and fuel. And anytime you take the Bebop somewhere, so you have to like complete all these tasks for your character to be like for your character card to be completed. And everybody is a Cowboy Bebop character. Um, and so every time you need to complete a task, you need to pick if you have less food or fuel as a result. And so the game is over if you run out of food and fuel.
Oh man, I
It's
love
really
it.
hard. Yeah, you want it? I
Yeah,
have to
yeah.
tell you, I got it at PAX, and I'm sure that they still sell them somewhere, but I don't remember the publisher off the top of my head. So remind me to remind you, and I'll tell you who made it. But it's so cool. It's such a cool game. Like I got friends who were not into Cowboy Bebop before to watch Cowboy Bebop because of the board game. Yeah.
I'm literally looking it up right now, just so you know.
Oh, okay. What is it?
It's on Board Game Geek
Okay.
and the Board Game Boogie.
That sounds right.
Does it have like looks
Hold on, I'm looking it up now too. Here
like
we are.
well, it has Spike and his ship on the cover, and it looks like it has everyone, but Spike's just the one.
Uh, maybe. Hold on. I gotta see this because I don't want to lead you astray.
I mean, that's okay. You can lead me astray. I'm
If
okay
you
with
find
it.
another book, yeah, Cowboy Bebop board game Boogie. That's the one. It's like the cover.
Yeah,
It's the cover of one of the DVDs, I think. Yeah.
it's so cool.
It is so it is such a good game.
Yeah, I see it
That's
right
the
there.
name?
PAX. There's literally a picture of it with PAX on it, and their
Yep.
melted cheese stuff.
Yeah, that's where I got it. And it was where but I looked at them and I was like they're like I was like, "Do you have a bag cuz I need to carry this around for the next day?" And they're like, "No." And I was like, "You're killing me." And they're like I was like, "Can I buy it and leave it?" They're like, "No, you can't do that, but you can come back for it." I was like, "I'm not taking that risk. What if you
Yeah,
I was
no
like,
way.
"How many do you have?" And they're like, "Well, all you see here." I'm like, "No, no, no, no. This is PAX we're talking about. This is where the competition for nerdery is. If I just walked into like Barnes and Noble and saw it,
Yep.
I'd be like, nobody else is buying that but me. I can come back for it later." But no, no, no. Yeah. Anyway, I highly recommend it. It's a great game and really easy to figure out and play. And yeah,
It's a lot. I love this stuff. It's so much fun to do these types of things.
yeah. And I feel well, you would literally have to become one of the characters in order to play it. So I could see a kid having a really good time, like personalizing with through
Hmm.
someone. Yeah, yeah. Oh man.
Totally.
Yeah, geeks geeking together is one of my favorite things. Well,
Oh,
you
it's.
just witnessed it full on 110%. So there you go.
I mean, you've got a bunch of Kingdom Hearts stuff around you behind you too. So.
Do you know? Have you read the essay? It was published on Take This, but how Kingdom Hearts helped me understand my depression.
I have not, but I want to read it now.
Okay, yeah, I wrote two things on this. So one is how Kingdom Hearts helped me understand my depression, and it's all about like how Sora and Goofy and Donald and the power of friendship and everything. It's awesome. But I also wrote a piece about how Aqua is literally a representation, like her story is literally a representation of depression for
Hmm.
Birth by Sleep. She wanders through darkness for 10 years with voices surrounding her telling her that she's terrible, nobody loves her, and won't have any friends, and she doesn't deserve for anybody to ever be around her or rescue her. So like yeah, yeah. Anyway, Kingdom Hearts is awesome. That's it. That's that.
Oh, they just linked it.
Oh
I'm
my
going to
gosh,
read this.
they did link it.
They did.
If you get really interested, there's a longer version on my blog.
I am going to read this later on.
Excellent. Yeah. There it is. Yep, there it is. I have it too, short linked. Oh my gosh. You guys, I don't know if you know. No, they know because they just saw me do a few really ridiculous dances. They know that I'm a nerd. Okay, we have questions piling up. I'm so sorry, fam. I swear.
That's because we can do this all night.
We can. We really can. All right, Cyril asks, you studied Freudian and Jungian psychology, right? Is Freud still relevant? I hear a lot of criticism nowadays.
So Freudian psychology has its appropriateness in a lot of areas, and it has some not appropriateness. One would say one of the biggest things that we saw in psychology was when it was translated to English from German, it actually got translated kind of incorrectly. So if you're gonna ever read about like the right way to translate it, it would be like by Bruno Bettelheim, and it's a very short, like 80-page book of what it meant, because a lot of people take his work to kind of be a little bit more like, oh, when he's talking about he talks about sex and all this stuff,
right?
And in all honesty, it's not. He's talking about what they call the psychic energy of it, of the libido. When he uses the word libido and it translates to English, it means sexual connotation.
Right.
But in Germany and in that area, it actually means something completely different, as it could mean psychic energy. And like in most languages have like multiple meanings for the same word. So
right.
just like our English language has more than most.
Right.
But that was like one of the biggest criticisms. So some of the stuff that he was talking about, like projecting, being able to know your defense mechanisms, things like that, that stuff's super, super relevant, because you can see those types of ideas in the way that we interact with ourselves, the way we interact with others, and how we kind of manage ourselves going forward. So that stuff is really, really good. Now, when we go into like women's hysteria, yeah, that's not great.
Right.
Don't follow that.
But
that
there's a lot of research before. I mean, hell, now there's a lot of research that just does not make sense to women, and like, Freud wasn't the one who came up with the wandering uterus thing, right? Was that?
No, I don't think so.
No, there's somebody. I'm sorry, I should be more thorough with naming, but there's somebody who had this idea that women's uteruses would wander in the body, and when your uterus shifted, that's what caused hysteria.
Was it also called wandering womb?
Yes, there you go. Yeah.
Edward Jordan.
Congratulations to Edward Jordan.
I know. And who published it in the book called The Suffocation of the Mother in 1603.
Oh Lord.
It's a little old.
It's a little bit outdated.
Just slightly, by a little over 400 years.
I feel like we've gotten better, but then sometimes I'll read stuff and I'll be like, we haven't gotten better enough. It's not good.
People have just not done great stuff.
Yeah. What is the plural of uteri? I don't know. Mappadale asks, what are your thoughts and feelings on mental health now being included in games? Such as, what are your thoughts on Hellblade?
So Hellblade, I think, is a really, really cool depiction of it, because it does a really good job of talking about psychosis and working through the psychosis and giving you the experience of it. Now, I suspect they probably went and talked to a lot of psychologists and read a lot of history on what does this actually look like for the person in order to get to that point. Normally, I would say 9 times out of 10, when someone tries to go and create a game based on mental health stuff, it fails. And the reason it usually fails is because the people who are doing it, the psychologists, mental health experts, are not game designers, and so therefore they don't really know how to manage these mechanics. They make them too complicated, or they make them too convoluted. And on the other side, it's when game developers try to do this without appropriately talking to the right people,
right,
then they tend to miss out on the actual psychological connotation, why it's actually really good. So give an idea, not just Hellblade, but there's one called Sparks that was put out in the New Zealand, in SPARX, and it has some really good validity, but once it got big, it didn't have that validity or reliability anymore. And the reason is because what the game developers did is they focused solely on the CBT mechanics, and talking about these things rather than actually focusing on the narrative. So what the game looks like is you are a person with a staff and magical powers, and you go to these places and you walk there, and then you defeat these monsters. That's literally it. That's there's not a really great narrative. There's not really anything else. So it's missing that really important piece that we're just going to grab
Right.
some people.
Right. That like gets you invested in the whole story, not just in the next step of what you need to accomplish. Yeah. Okay. Uh, and it was all about New Zealand mythology. Oh, well, then it's even less accessible to people who might not be familiar with that. Yeah.
The concepts in nature were going to be pretty cool.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I heard about it, but I feel like I also didn't hear enough about it, which is probably like to your point. The research was amazing, as they had psychosis sufferers helping them in development. That is true. And they had I can't remember the name of the professor, Richard I can't remember his last name, who helped with the
Bartle?
development.
Bartle?
It doesn't sound right.
Yeah, I was going to say Richard Bartle. He's over in the UK.
Yeah. No, I definitely know it's a UK because Ninja Theory is in the UK. And okay, sorry. More names that I don't know. You can't really talk CBT as that's not what it is or how I learned it, as it's self-thought therapy you take from and use. Interesting. Oh, we do have to go through CBT. Remind me, stream family. Remind me. There's somebody who illustrated CBT really beautifully, and I wanted to show it to you guys. Okay. Duosin asks, what exactly got? Wait. What exactly gave you this? Sorry. Okay, I'm trying to edit.
We're gonna get there. Take your time. We're in no rush.
I'm trying to edit the English because it's not exactly laid out the way it's supposed to be. But what exactly got you into this type of therapy specifically? Was this a personal idea, or did a bunch of people think it was a good idea, and that's what started it?
So I'm assuming they're talking about geek therapy, so I'll talk
Geek
about
therapy.
that.
Yes.
So there's actually a bunch of us that really want to display this stuff, and a lot of us mental health experts are using this type of stuff, clinicians, professionals, stuff like that. So when we kind of got the idea, we're like, well, there's a great opportunity here to help standardize this idea and making it a normal part of our psychology field. So one big thing that you'll ever figure out in our psychology field is the older generations always hold the most power in the sway. And even to this day, if we apply for a position or a talk in APA, they always stick us in the corner if they even accept it, where you can't be found. Like the last time I was at APA, we talked about the importance of video games, how we use them to help kids with frustration tolerance. Really, really cool stuff. Like we had some really awesome experts in this. And they put us in, when it was in Chicago. They put us in the back corner where it took me 20 minutes to find this place. And then in the smallest room possible, and it was packed. And they're like, well, maybe we should do a little bit more of this next time. And we're like, really, guys, you think?
Yeah,
you think?
maybe a little bit. It is so weird. I had a conversation with somebody who I wanted to have on as a potential guest. It was like a psychologist. And they also have a talk show. And so they said to me, they asked me, because basically we said, like, I can connect you to guests, you can connect me to guests, okay, good times. And I was like, yeah, and I would love to connect you. A lot of my connections are geek therapists, so they're people who actually talk about the benefits of video games, unlike what the mainstream media will tell you. And they stopped talking. They just were like, oh, I was like, yeah, like there's a whole group of therapists who believe in this, and it helps people out. It's really amazing. So if you'd love to interview, if you'd like to interview and get that perspective, and I emphasize, I was like, these are, professional psychologists. So like, it's not just like me being like, video games are great. But they were like, So I don't know if that's going to go anywhere, but it's not mainstream. Yeah.
And that's honestly what we're trying to do, is standardize this, and that's why we have the cultural competency certificate for professionals. We have the certified geek therapist stuff that's coming on out, and later on we're going to switch the whole thing around a little bit. I think to make it even more available to a lot of people, because it's not necessarily about what we can like. A lot of people will do certain things, and like, I like Dan Siegel, I like his work and stuff like that, but he makes a shit ton of money. That's not our goal. Our
Right.
goal is to make this as accessible as possible to people. And so we're reworking a lot of stuff now that we've gotten to a certain point to make this as even more accessible for people who may not be therapists, who still want to see these talks, still want to see what these things are about,
Yeah.
and maybe talk with their kids about these types of things, because that's important.
Listen, I know that we are lacking resources and desperately need them in the streaming community. So in any like in the streaming community, meaning people come into streams, they have mental health concerns. Streamers don't know how to react to them. There needs to be a more widely available system of
Hmm.
like mental health type first aid training, but that's geek specific.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I did earlier in April one for Facebook, actually, on burnout and how do you manage yourself in these burnout situations, and then being able to help your streams, your people in the streams, and how do you manage these types of things going forward.
oh my god.
Yeah.
If I like, okay, I'm putting you on the spot totally, but if I like fundraised for a bunch of people to get this, like, is that a possibility? Is that a thing? Is that
Yeah, we can
possible?
we can definitely do something like this. That's something that we can easily make. And I don't even think you have to fundraise it. We just got to find the time.
Okay. All right, because I know I don't know if you saw the tweet. I posted out just today. So people who are watching this, I guess go back as far as you can to this tweet. But I posted out a tweet that said like I would love to start a Twitch team that focused on that had preparedness for mental health first aid. So again,
Hmm.
not therapy, but just first aid, and was benefiting mental health related charities. And the response has been overwhelming that people want this and they feel that it's needed and that it's missing from the streaming community. So I will take you up on this so freaking hard.
By all means, we a lot of the projects that I'm in the middle of are actually finalizing, which is great. And I don't have any current writing stuff to do, and so we can definitely do all sorts of
Yes.
crazy stuff in the right way of crazy.
Okay. Yes. Okay. This is good. This is you guys. This is I really do need those helpers. This is an open call. If you're interested, please email me. But okay. All right. Backtracking, going all the way back. So, how do you feel? And this is kind of like super, asking you to be introspective. How do you feel about the success of geek therapy now? Like, again, you started a publishing house. This is the second book you're
Hmm.
publishing that's in this area. You're you're clearly growing. There's so many. Like today, I went to look for a specialist, and I was like, there's too many names. I don't know what to do. So cool.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so
And
yeah, how does that feel? What's
it's actually really good, because one of the things it means that we're connecting people,
yeah,
and that we are doing what honestly our degrees are here for, is to be able to help people, to connect them to the right people that are the right fit for them, but also standardize the entire idea behind this. We're going to be about to go through, like, our website geektherapytraining.com is about to go through a massive overhaul,
mm-hmm.
and we're going to turn it into what they call like a hub funnel,
Okay,
and so people can easily find these videos on what they want, and everything like that. But we're also going to take the people who are culturally competent in all of these different areas, and be able to parse them out by state and by area. So people should be
yes,
able to just type in their zip code, and they should be able to be pulled up with someone who says that who practices geek therapy. Maybe you want someone who is culturally competent, has gone through the certification. Cool. If not, that's okay too. It's really your choice. So one of the biggest things that a lot of people don't sometimes know is that you have your choice as a to choose who you want to be your mental health provider,
yeah,
and that is so important, because
yes. We
I may not
emphasize
be the
that a
right fit
lot,
for you. Yeah,
right?
and other people may not be the right fit either, but a lot of people will go through this first part where they're like, oh, I went to saw this therapist, I didn't really get along, but I'm going to go forward with it. And all of us are like, no,
No, don't.
no,
That's
don't
find a
don't do
different
that.
one. Yeah,
Yeah, find
yeah,
someone you're going to connect with. Find someone that you're going to feel that you can help manage yourself in a different way. Someone that you can actually listen to, because if you hate your therapist, you're going to hate the whole process. The
yeah.
process is supposed to be fun.
Yep. Oh my God, this is the whole thing, and chat will back me up here. This is the whole thing that we emphasize in the stream. We talk
Hmm.
about like go find a therapist, and if you don't find the right therapist, keep looking because the
Yeah.
difference the right therapist literally changes your life versus just kind of going through it and going through the emotions. Yeah, preach it. Find the right fit for you. Swap Site, by the way, thank you so much for that raid earlier. I did not lose sight of that. We don't have any more questions. This is impossible. Excuse me. Excuse me. Oh, wait.
So while we wait for more questions, I kind of wanted to give a little bit more emphasis on the anime, because I think that sometimes anime gets a little bit of a bad rap.
Yeah, let's go.
So to give everyone kind of a story, and this is my favorite story, so you may or may not have heard it on a different stream across the last 9 months. But my favorite story to working with clients in anime is we do psych testing for behavioral health hospital here in Dallas Fort Worth area. And so I went in and I psych tested this person who was supposedly psychotic, and I walked into the room and did the testing. I was like, something's off here, but it's not psychosis. Like when we do our testing, we also use our intuition. Like, all right, so I started having conversation. I ended up spending another two hours with this girl who was 14 years old, and we started talking about different things. And it turns out that she was anime. Her family doesn't get it. Her sisters don't get it. She doesn't feel like she's talking to anybody. She doesn't feel like she has any connections, and it turns out she's just super depressed. And so there is a possibility that you can be depressed or super anxious and have psychotic features because it's so deep and dark. And she ended up coming on as a client to specifically me. I took her on specifically because I didn't want her to go with anyone else, because she already started building connection.
Right.
She's that anime girl I was telling you about earlier, and she has come so far in being able to understand herself and work in her different areas of life. Like when she was going to school, she didn't really feel like she connected with anybody. She didn't feel like she could work on projects. And then one day she came in and she goes, I don't know what to do. I got put in a group with 4 people I don't know. And I was like, great, this is perfect. We got a learning experience here. I said, who are the anime characters they remind you of? And she just see the light bulb go off. She goes, this, and this. And I was like, so you already know how to interact with them. You know what they're going to say. You know what they're going to, what type of personality they're going to be. And I said, so interact. And I said, try it out. You're really smart. You're really able to do this, and you can manage this. She did. And she goes, you're right. This is insane. Like, I never thought about of seeing people as these different anime characters and being able to understand or their interactions. I was like, every story is built off of something that we can use in our own life, and even to this day, she has a girlfriend, and she now wants to go in and work a little bit more in animation. And so she's just thriving off of this, and that's just because she found the right therapist to be able to talk about these animes and these different geek artifacts that she wants. And she's actually a leader in our D&D group, amazingly.
Oh my god, this is the best story ever.
Yeah, she's one of my favorites. I love it when I'm gonna be super sad when she finally graduates from seeing me.
Oh my god. Well, it's okay. I was just telling everybody it took me like 6 or 7 years to finally graduate from my current therapist. So you have time, maybe. But
yes.
oh my god, what a beautiful story. I'm now going to use that as an example when people are like, oh, I didn't find the right therapist. Like, oh my god, what a turnaround. This is like this person went from, having their depression kind of run their life to being a fully functioning, like, out there being. That's so cool.
Yep. And that was the whole point. It was perfect. I love her to death. She's just so much fun to work with.
Aw, thank you so much for the sub, Dot. I appreciate you. I have trouble with the modern concept of a sleeper. Can you put that into a question and throw that exclamation letter Q? I would love to kind of address that, but I'd love to address that in our queue, so that it's fair. Mappadale asks a follow-up question. Should we be trusting psychiatrists over psychologists when it comes to complications of the mind? As from personal experience, it was a psychologist who put me on the right path. I don't know about this question. I don't know how to answer that.
Say it one more time. I'm sorry. I was unfortunately paying a little bit to chat. Make sure that the Nova Rift was on the right one, because I didn't see his or her thing come on through.
Oh, okay. Just sign up. Okay, Nova Rift. Yeah, let's do the thing, but let's do it right. Yeah. Hi, Rennie Tinkerdork. Hello. Loaded question, indeed. Okay, so it's kind of asking basically psychologist versus psychiatrist. Should we be trusting psychiatrists over psychologists when it comes to complications of the mind? As from personal experience, it was a psychologist who put me on the right path.
So it's a great question. It's a loaded question, as someone also said, is that each one has their own benefits.
Mm-hmm.
So psychiatry does medication. They don't always do therapy. There are some psychiatrists that do therapy and do therapy well. So,
Mm-hmm.
but most of this, even here in Texas, most of the psychiatry that we see here is a little bit more of here's some meds, here's go back this way, here's some
That's the
time.
ones I've encountered as
Yeah.
well. Yeah.
So I've only met maybe one or two psychiatrists that will actually spend like a good 30, 45 minutes with you to actually understand what's going on. And their way of working is actually not to give you a whole bunch of medication, but to actually understand what's going on and give you the least amount of medication to to help out with the situation. So
Yeah.
in those instances, that can be very, very helpful. And now a psychologist, on the other hand, we have bad apples in our field too. There are some people that are just terrible, and chances are you probably can tell who they are, if they're going to be a solid one, if they are ones who only focus in on court mandated therapy, because generally, yes, they can be really good, but chances are if they're court mandated and that's what comprises most of their practice, they probably aren't able to function really well out in a versatile way in the real area of psychology and practicing. So that being said, I think that you have to trust with one, what your intuition is, what your gut's saying, and how you're reacting to something. If a med is not working for you, you need to talk to your psychiatrist about it, or whoever's prescribing the meds, and say, this isn't working for me. This is giving me this, this, and this. And if they say, well, I think you need to give it more time, and you've been on it for a couple months, chances are you might want to look at maybe thinking about
Talking
a
to
different,
another. Mm-hmm.
talking to a different second opinion.
Mm-hmm.
There's no harm in doing second opinions
Mm-hmm.
ever. The same thing works in psychologists, that if you don't like what your person said at the beginning stages and you're still developing that, it's okay to go out and be like, I'm just going to try someone else just real quick to see what happens. There's no harm. Trust me, if we take offense to that, we probably shouldn't be in our field. But if most therapists that I know that are good, that will not take offense, to be like, great, go try someone. I want to hear about it, even if it's just one more session later on,
Mm-hmm.
just to see what worked, what didn't work. We're always trying to better ourselves in our practices as well. And that's the whole goal of what we're trying to do, is just make everyone a little bit better. That's if we've done that, then we've succeeded.
Oh man. And it's my goal to bring people to you to make them a little bit better. To hold on, make them, I don't want to use that word, to get them to be a little bit better. Yeah, to get yourself to the yeah, you get it. Okay. Anyway. Okay. So Sleeper asked a question. I don't know how like super relevant it is, but I would love to get your take on this. Sleeper asked, I have trouble with the modern concept of triggered. In the original form of the word, it was the the episode of difficulty for World War One of returning veterans. The modern expression seems to denote anything a person doesn't like, and I have trouble attributing credibility to the new usage.
It's a great thing. So with every change in our world, sociological, environmental, cultural change, there's always going to be a new use of something. So yes, while that came back from the triggered from shell shock as well, which was what is transitioned to then eventually PTSD, because everything just always follows a linear path in going down different ways. The current use of it is actually one, I would say, is making people feel more comfortable to say, hey, I'm really triggered by what you said. I'm really not appreciative of what you said, that in a way that they're not gaslit. In
Yeah.
a way, in a way that they could be healthy for them too. Yes, we may be like, well, I don't agree that you're triggered, but then that's me projecting my own crap onto you and saying like, tough luck. I'm technically gaslighting you right in that moment.
Yeah.
Now, and this kind of happens with a lot of people too. They're like when people coming out with gender dysphoria
Mm-hmm.
or something else with their sexuality, they're like, well, look at all this stuff. Society, technology is making us more gay and homosexual. And we're like,
Sure.
no, it's just always been there.
Yeah.
It's just people didn't feel comfortable talking about
Right.
that. So it's about a cultural switch, a cultural change. So people may use triggered in a way to say to exemplify a feeling that they're having, but it's also important to look at it like, and this happened with my parents and probably a lot of parents, is we weren't necessarily gaslit by our parents, but they were kind of like people who were like, well, suck it up there, sonny.
Yep.
And something like that, and we probably all have heard that type of stuff, and they weren't really the best at validating, and even if you bring it up to them, they're still like, no, I didn't do that. And you're like, mother trucker.
You definitely did though, because
Yeah,
I carried this around for a very long time. Yeah.
So thanks for the invalidation again.
Thank you. Yeah, that's when I told my dad came to me. I don't know. Now it was like a year ago, and he was like, and he was of that, like, suck it up, get out of bed, that whole thing. And then he came to me and he's like, I'm on antidepressants and I'm on medication. I'm like, okay, well, unlike you, I'm gonna support you through this. And he's like, what? Me? I did no such thing. I'm like, son of a gun.
And you're just like, if I could just time travel, I would just shove your face in this.
Yeah, just clip it and bring it back and be like, look at it. Yeah.
Tell me it's not there.
Yeah. Tell me you didn't do this. Literally this. Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. We didn't end up talking about post-traumatic growth very much now, did we? Which is a bit of a concern because we are talking about this book. So I do want to.
We talk about all sorts of fun stuff.
We do.
That's
it's great. Fun. It's really I every episode I've had with you, which I know this is only the second one, but there's more to come, is absolutely fantastic. So why don't we just like very briefly touch upon what the heck is post-traumatic growth and how does that relate to Final Fantasy?
So when we can't talk about post-traumatic growth without talking about trauma. So there's big trauma and there's big T trauma, little T trauma. This is all in the book too, and probably puts together a little bit more eloquently than what I'm about to give to you, because it's done by Leah Hughes, and she is just fantastic about what she does and how she words stuff, and Stephanie Orme too. So one of the big things is with little T trauma, big T trauma. Little T trauma is the one that we kind of endure every day. It can be a little setback here and there, and you're like, oh, this really sucks, but you know what? I'm going to move forward. We can usually overcome the little T a little bit easier. That and then there's the big T, which is like devastating, like the big blast in Beirut, the big swallowing of your. I'm going to just throw something out. Your favorite toy got swallowed by a dog, ripped up to shreds, and then pooped out. I don't know. Anyways, I'm just throwing some stuff out there. I don't know. And so it can be traumatizing for some people. Anyways, I didn't want to go down any sort of like the more common ones, because we can get lost in those areas. So with that said, when we have a PTG, post-traumatic growth, we have to what we call overcome the situation, and we have to be able to help manage who we are in that moment. So we take the trauma, we transform it into what we need it to be, whether it's a narrative, whether it's something else that we can grow from, and we try to look at it from a different angle. Those types of aspects are what we call the growth factors. And when we take our trauma and we take control of it, the big T trauma, and this happens with little T too, we then have what we call endured post-traumatic growth. We have risen above what it was. We have not allowed it to hold us captive any longer. And the reason that we talk about that in the book is because Cloud Strife goes through tons and tons of trauma, whether it's gaslit, taking on a persona, losing his memories. It's all in there. And one of the things that he has to do is he has to overcome that trauma. He has to be better than what he has experienced himself to be in that moment. And he has to overcome the heartbreaking, the disassociative fugue, the problems with taking on someone else's personality that he watched die in front of him, which happens again with Harris. Spoiler alert. Sorry, guys. If you haven't played it, if you haven't seen it at that point, I'm really sorry. You're like 20 year plus too late here. So it's something where it really feels like when we overcome our trauma, we feel a sense of accomplishment, a sense of purpose, and a sense of power, taking back our power in that situation. And that in itself is very, very important when we talk about the idea of post-traumatic growth, because that's really what we're coming into. That's what we're trying to accomplish when we go there.
Gotcha. We have more questions that came in the meantime.
I told you it was going to happen.
It was going to happen. But so it's okay. So it's the difference between it's the difference between like overcoming your trauma versus, well, I guess
So
no, both is overcoming your trauma. Just one is easier to overcome than the other.
one usually is easier to overcome. The smaller
Right.
T is because it's
Right.
just like a little hiccup. Think of it as
Right.
that way. And the other one is being able to take it and empower and embolden yourself, utilizing it, not being held hostage by it, not being held in captivity. Like, I'm not going to go forward with this. It's about taking it and making it one your own, but also taking that ownership of it and saying, this isn't going to define me. I'm going to grow past this.
Yes. Yes. And that's a big one that we've also emphasized here, that like going to therapy for your trauma, yes, you might have to relive your trauma as you explain it and as you go through to the other side of getting past it. But ultimately, that's you taking charge of it versus it running things for you, which is what
Running your
happens
life,
if
yeah.
which is what happens if you don't treat it. Duo asks, is geek therapy effective treatment for the same Sorry. Is geek therapy effective treatment for the same range of mental issues as traditional therapy, specifically ADHD, where meds don't work?
Yes, we actually see quite a bit of improvement with that. I can think of one client who parents, this kid is not in his own self individual work because he's very difficult to handle,
Mm-hmm.
and he doesn't pay attention, and he is a smart A man. Oh my gosh, this kid, he puts everyone on edge with how smart he is, and he will rationalize you down to your bones and whittle you down slowly. So
Mm-hmm.
he also has a lot of ADHD symptomology. He always has to be playing with something, whether it's fidgeting, whether it's making noises, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
In our D&D group, he has had 12 sessions now, and the first 4 sessions were terribly rough.
Yeah.
Terribly
Okay.
rough. And lots of distractions, lots of inputting, all the normal ADHD of hyperactivity and inattention, and then trying to rule the table
Mm-hmm.
as being like, you're going to play my way. And
Mm-hmm.
it took coaxing, and us as like, we could have gone two main ways with it. One, we could have gone the way we did and being like, hey, you're kind of a little interrupting. That's cool. We want you to have your time to speak, but we just need you to raise your hand. That's
Mm-hmm.
inputting a secondary characteristic into it to enforce that boundary.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other way that you could have gone, which I would not advise, is being like, hey kid, shut up. You're ruining the game for everybody. That's the way we did not go. Anyways, after 12 sessions already, his mom emails me weekly updates and everything, and he actually has been listening more. Still gets a little agitated and irritated if you interrupt him, but he does a lot better now with who he is and being able to focus on what he needs to do in that moment.
Oh,
So
that's
it can be
amazing.
effective if it's used the right way, and you're supportive in that endeavor as well.
Yes. Versus saying, shut up, kid. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're ruining the group for everybody. Which in an ironic twist, at our 10th thing, we always do a checkup on our 10th session, and everyone in the group said that they appreciated his ability to do that. And me, the DM, and I were like, we were not expecting that at all. Like,
Aw.
people were really appreciative of it. We're expecting, like, we're gonna have to do like massive damage control and everything, but no, everyone's like, hey, you gave some really good criticism, feedback, and some other stuff for here, and you challenged us to work in this different way. And we're like, what is happening here? This is not what we expected, and this is
Everybody
the best thing.
learned.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. So we're back. Um, Sleeper is back on the question of being triggered. And I want to make sure I ask this. Okay. I find the modern usage of the term as offensive form rather than a protective method to protect oneself. The environment. I have no reason not to believe someone when they say they use trigger the way I don't like. The environment I find this seems to be shutting down a conversation wherein this topic can no longer be discussed. Okay, so that's the issue.
Oh, so what you're kind of discussing is what we use in like D&D is what we call an X card, and that X card in itself, when you come into or the narrative comes into a space where you're not comfortable with talking about that stuff, then we have what we call an X card, where someone can just tap the X card and it's done. No questions asked, nothing like that. So that's their nonverbal way of saying, hey, I'm triggered by this subject. We
Mm-hmm.
want to respect that. We want to go forward with that. What you're also talking about is, yes, you can be triggered on your own end, one would say, that someone is using the word not to the way that you understand it. I would also encourage heavily to try to understand, why is this word itself so pertinent to why what you need it to be for you, because maybe what it means for you doesn't mean it always has to be that way for everyone else. And I think that that's a really good way to say, maybe I need to kind of jump into my own understanding, my own insight of, why is this pissing me off so much?
Right.
Why does someone who plays soccer or something like that run the opposite way? Why in Brawl Stars did my person just shoot a goal into my wrong goal? Happened today. It was super frustrating. Like, why did you do that?
Why? Why was it like that?
I don't
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
but it's an opportunity, I think, for growth. It's what we call them AFOGs, another effing opportunity for growth. And in what we kind of have that, um, is important to know that it's, yes, our feelings are valid. So your feelings are valid, yes, and the aspect of what you're experiencing is important. But I think it's also important to take a step back and try to see it from a much wider perspective as well. Yes, people might be saying that they're triggered. Some people might be joking when they're saying it. They may not be using it in an accurate manner,
Yeah.
and that's frustrating.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's frustrating regardless, because I read a tweet yesterday that definitely, I ended up writing a nicer tweet than the one that was in my head, which the tweet was, yeah, I feel like in some ways we've normalized mental health too much. And that was the tweet. And I was like, oh boy, because, okay, I guess you haven't spoken to a person of color or ever had to tell your boss that you need a mental health day. And they've, seen their reaction to that and how many more projects they give you after you say that. Like, yeah, sure, it's super normalized. Okay, thanks. But the sentiment was like, depression, anxiety are overused terms. Like, they've become colloquialisms, and people are frustrated over that because people who actually have depression, anxiety are like, please don't say that, because you don't know, my life is hell. And I can
Hmm.
understand why, again, or somebody with PTSD, please don't say that you're triggered because you don't understand, my life is hell. So I get that. I get that from that perspective, but I like what you're saying, which is like, consider what, not, don't consider the words that this person is saying, but consider what they're actually saying by using the words the way they are.
Hmm.
Yes?
Yeah, it's always about, let's look at it from a different perspective. When we get frustrated, when we start having some difficulties, we start to it should be our normal cue to then say, hey, what's going on? Why am I feeling this way? It should start building that insight for us, and provide what we call a jumping platform to start developing and understanding ourselves on a deeper level. So, like, I love memes. Memes are the funnest thing ever, and I have my kid clients text and email me them all the time because they find the best ones. And one of them was, they sent one for Adventure Time, and there was one with the lead character and the dog, where
Yeah.
they're like entering into a forest, and they're like, man, things got a whole lot darker in here since we've been gone, because they hadn't been like doing hero work and that stuff. And
Right.
someone was like, this is me with mental health. Like, let's dive into our insides in our personal psyche, and
Right.
things got a lot whole darker in here. Yeah, it's because you're supposed to be consistently and constantly working on it, because if you just leave it alone, it's just going to blow on up in your face.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my god, dude, memes. Memes are how I think I have like dealt with any mental health concern I've had since, like, I don't know, since
It's
memes
it's
are invented.
I mean, it provides metaphorical language that is
Right.
so amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. It gives you words that you otherwise did not have. Hi Whiskey. Okay. So, last question. I'm closing the queue. Because Dr. Bean's got to go eventually. I do want to read a few things here. So sometimes people suppress big T trauma, end up being routinely triggered by little things that really aren't so little when a person is constantly bearing the load. Mm-hmm. 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 That's exactly what Dr. Bean was saying. Yeah.
Hmm.
So when they seem to be overreacting, it's not the thing that they're overreacting to that's bothering them. It's just that the thing that they are comfortable vocalizing to keep from talking about whatever bigger thing is really bothering them. I love that. I love
Hmm.
that. That's a really good point. Um, Okay, question. Okay. My question falls in line about being an educator in the field. As a former STOP member, or STOP member with StackUp, I've been looking for a way to do the same program to my local area through gaming. You discussed certification earlier. Is that all handled through your training programs, or is it a separate program that you have available for training people?
So it's a program on geektherapytraining.com. Make sure you go to that website, because that's our website. What we do that stuff. Make sure you have training at the end of it. The big thing of what we do is right now we're doing everything virtual. We have had conversations, like we brought Dungeons and Dragons to TCU over here in Fort Worth, and they loved it. And so they before COVID shut them down, they had 3 different groups running. When the first semester they only had 1. And so what we did is we were in talks with them to actually come in and train those first 12 students in there, and so that they could then go out to their campuses and their area's campus and then run it again on their ends. So our training stuff right there is a cultural competency, the first one, 12 hours of training. And what it does is it helps for people to understand the different areas: fan fiction, anime, video games. How do you work with gamers? How do we focus in on these different aspects and these different vocalizations, these projections of the self? Those types of things. That's our cultural competency. We're still finalizing and building the full certified geek therapist, but one of the requirements in order to get that title is you have to be licensed in a field somewhere. So it can be mental health, it can be psychiatry, it can be I think we have someone's a life coach that's in it. There's another person who is also let me think of how to phrase it. She's a belly dancer, but she's also a localized massage therapist.
Okay,
And so
masseuse.
I had to think of, like, did I want to say massage or masseuse?
Okay.
And one of the things is, like, she's technically licensed by someone, so I can't say no, and nor do I want to.
Right.
If you want to utilize these things and kind of like focus in on a geek style of these things, like, I don't know if you want to roll a d20 toward what part of the shoulder am I going to rub in, or how hard I'm going to do that. I don't know how you want to do that, but the important thing is that she wants to utilize this in that aspect. So what we're doing is just trying to standardize and give a whole bunch of information. I would encourage anyone to check us out, but also again, we're going to be revamping stuff as soon as our new website gets revamped and goes completely live.
Awesome sauce. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay. You guys, the Psychology of Final Fantasy is available. It hasn't launched yet, right? It's still pre-order?
31st. Yep,
31st. Oh, so close. So here's where you can buy it, and you said that was cheaper than Amazon.
Than Amazon. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then you also said you'd give a book away.
I'll give 3 away.
3!
If you want to do one of your little things again.
Yeah, I'm going to do one of my little things again. I'm going to do it. Okay. You guys, I'm super excited. 3 books. Okay, so if you're interested, and please be kind and considerate of others. If you know you're going to read it, if you know you're excited about it, enter. If you just want to win something, I'll give you a sticker instead. You don't have to enter for this book, I swear. But yes. Okay, so it is going to be exclamation FF book. The reason for that is because we do have a command book that's for my book. So FF book. Okay? And the giveaway opens. You have exactly, hold on.
It should be like 39 seconds. No.
However you have exactly 1 minute to enter, and I will open the giveaway and I won't reset it every time, but you have exactly 1 minute. Massage therapist could be used to heal the wounds of battle after a game session. All right, giveaway has started. Let's go. Yeah. Okay, so you told us 5 awesome things about this book when we started. Do you have a favorite chapter? Is it just yours, or do you not have a favorite chapter?
My chapter was really good. I actually really like the trauma chapter at the end. The reason is when I so originally the whole chapters were reorganized in a whole different order.
Okay.
And so after I read it for the 15th time, because as you edit these things, you read them consistently over and over again. So I know a lot of the chapters by heart.
I love Chelsea too.
I know, she's so good.
She's edited so much. She's edited a lot of my stuff for Take This. That's why.
She's so good on some stuff on her writing skills, and what we went to do is I looked at everything. I was like, this is the chapter that you have to end on. Like with the Zelda book, the favorite chapter by far is the Majora's Mask chapter and the Stages of Grief. So every book, there's always one favorite chapter. My suspicion and my bet money is actually the Final Fantasy Trauma chapter at the end, and that's one that I wanted to end on that chapter specifically because one of the things I really like about the introduction of Sean Atkinson, who teaches at TCU, he actually wrote in there, and I was hoping he was going to do this, that in his introduction to the or the forward introduction, he did the introduction, that when he did that, he said that trauma is like a boss, but you have to take damage in order to surpass it. Only by taking damage can we actually surpass our limits and continue to move forward. And I was like, dude, you are nailing it. And I was like, and you're a music professor.
That is prophetic.
This is fantastic.
Yeah. Oh man, that's gorgeous. I love that so much. Okay. You did enter. Okay, so I forgot that I had FF book also as a command to promote your book from when I did a whole episode around the book. So I promise I do have the list, and everybody I've been watching out of the corner of my eye, everybody who put in FF book did get entered. It's a huge list here. So I'm really excited to see the 3 people. But if you don't get it, clearly you can find the link of where to buy it. I'm sorry.
It's there, and it's gonna be fun. And as soon as Mxiety gets me the list, I can mail them out because I have them at the office.
Yes. Okay, fam. 0. That's it. Everything's closed. You just didn't get just the bot didn't say anything. Yeah, what link? Exactly. Okay, so we have 3 winners. If you win, you will email me your address and I will forward all 3 to Dr. Bean, and that's how we have to do this. If you don't want to forward your address, you can't enter because then we can't send you a book. So it's like it'd be like that. Yeah. Okay. There's a link in chat where you guys are trolls. I see how it is. Okay. All right, pick a winner. Number 1. Stride Cypher. I don't have hold on. Do I have any sound effects? No, I don't really have any good sound effects.
You totally need a soundboard.
I do have a soundboard, but I can't hear it. So I have here. Okay, we did it. We did a little horn, clap. Okay, all right, great. You guys know all the sounds that you can use. Use them. We have burp. We have all kinds of stuff. All right, Stride Cypher, welcome. Super excited. Exclamation, email, it's mxiety.marie@gmail.com. Please go ahead and send over your address so that we can send you over a book. Book number 2 goes to... Suave Psych! Excellent! Suave Psych is a psychologist and has been a great supporter of the show, so I'm really excited. That's amazing! Thank you for... Are you sure you want to give away 3? Because this is your last option to back out. Okay. All right. 3rd winner. No way. And I love Final Fantasy. So I actually, the first stream I watched of Suave Psych, they were playing Final Fantasy X. So
it's such a good one.
It all connects. All right. And the last, but not least, honk. There you go. There's my honk sound effect. It's the goose from, I don't know if you could hear it, probably not. It's the goose from Untitled Goose Game.
That's such a fun game to play.
So in preparation, I know this is a spoiler and totally a non sequitur, but in preparation for multiplayer, Husbando and I bought matching goose socks. So I already had the goose socks. He bought himself a pair. It's going to get wild, fam, but we're going to be playing multiplayer. Okay.
It's going to be great.
It's going to be so good. Okay, last winner. I know people are like, I want to know. Okay. Last winner is Ella. Ella, my lovely. Thank you so much. Yay! For everybody else, please know that you are supporting an amazing person and an amazing cause if you decide to, spend the money on the book. So thank you so much for that. That is the link. It's cheaper than Amazon to buy it off of that link, so you can go ahead and do that, even though it spammed the Amazon link up and down. I want to honk. Honk is on cooldown. Oh, there it is.
It's smart for you to put it on cooldown.
Yeah. Oh, because if you go, because it tells you how many times each command has been used. Honk is my most used command ever. There's like 500 uses or something of it. It's like it's wild. All right. Well, thank you so much. Stride Cypher, Suave, Psych, and Ella the Almighty. Please send over your addresses so that I can forward them to Dr. Bean ASAP. Dr. Bean, where can they find you? Where should people go to like find out stuff about you? There's links there, but yeah, go ahead.
Absolutely. They can find me on Twitter. I'm at Video Game Doc. They can find us on Facebook. We have a page, and it just hit 3,000 likes, thank goodness, in under a year. So we definitely are making a difference.
That's really cool.
I know, it's super neat to see that happen. We're like, whoa, this is weird, guys, but cool. And geektherapytraining.com. Make sure you put training at the end, and you can find all sorts of stuff. And definitely subscribe to our email list, because I can tell you there's some cool stuff that is coming.
Yes.
There's some stuff that I'm not allowed to talk about yet, but there's cool stuff that's coming.
Okay, but the stuff you've sent out was already amazing. I've talked about the best party conversation I've ever had was about what color lightsaber means about you psychologically. I've had some of the best conversations with people over like asking them what color and then being like, actually, that means this. Did you know? Wah, wah, wah. And I'm just curious, what color lightsaber do you think I would have?
I feel like you'd have purple.
That's the one I have. That's the one I went and got. Yeah, from Disney. Yay! I'm predictable. Thank you so much, Dr. Bean, for being on. I appreciate you. Everybody, we're going to be right back after this break with some Samurai Jack. Be the light. See you soon!